Let's paint the first painting in the your long bugs painting project. I decided on bugs or insects because there will be some different kinds. But they're so cool and you don't really get to paint bugs. So we are going to paint bugs and some other things. So first, I have my watercolor paint palette. I have my water cup, my towel, and I have three different brushes that I'm going to use. Probably this one is kind of like, the flat one is kind of like a just in case you need it. You may not use it. A really tiny one and the normal one that I kind of like to use always. I'm not fond of giving numbers, so I say if it's like half or a little bit less than half as your pinky nail, you will be good to go. So anything with a good point, even if it's bigger, it needs a good point. And then the skinny one obviously makes it a little easier to paint. This is a Firebug. They're actually really pretty if you look at them. Um, I don't think they are nice bugs, but they're really pretty. I have it here on my phone. It's red and black, so it will not take us forever to paint this, but look how cool they are. Okay, so because we are going to use red and black, we want to paint the black last, and then we want to paint the red first, just because we need our water to stay clean, unless you have two cups. Two cups makes me very nervous because I frequently bump stuff over, and so maybe you can do it. Also, get yourself a nice little beverage because, we are hanging out. So, first, we are going to do red. Now, the red is a little bit more towards the orangey red. So, check your red. Sometimes reds can be a little pinky. If that's your case, I would just have red as a puddle, add some orange, clean your brush, maybe get one head of yellow in there, and then let's see. Much nicer. So play around and see what red you fancy. And then we will go from there. Do not splatter on your paintings like I just did. A baby wipe will take that off. And then I always like to dip into my water cup before I start painting. And then I want to paint all around my black spots. I don't want to outline. I want to just go in like this and go around and paint. I cannot always make a circle, so I have to do like C shapes. Move my stuff. Okay, so fill in. Sometimes what also happens with paint is it dries a bit lighter. So just know it can happen. So your red may not be as red as you wanted it. So the good thing is if you paint over your little black spot, it's black, so you should be able to paint over it. And I'm just painting it one shade. I try to point my brush to my pencil line so I can get a really nice even outline. And I'm just filling it in. Hopefully you made enough paint. If you mix something, I frequently have to just check my reference to make sure I see what I see. What am I even looking at? So I'm just filling it in. Even if it dries a little uneven, I can touch my water cup and I can just kind of with a wet or a damp, maybe not so wet, a damp brush go and move it around. And then he does have red eyes. So make your eyes. They're not going to stay this red. I mean, that looks freaky. Okay, so this is the first layer. I didn't paint with too much water. It's kind of dry already for me to do a second coat or layer. I tried to paint all the way to my pencil line. You can see on this side I missed a little bit. So I'm going to come back with a second layer and then I want to leave a few highlights. If you lose a few of your highlights, you can also use the flat brush and bring some of it back. So by mixing it again, I can get a much brighter red. Oh, not mixing it again, painting it again. Now, you want to make sure that you go over everything, touching pencil lines. Looks like I'm outlining, but before it dries, I really come back and fill it in. So it doesn't have time to dry fully, and you can just see the difference. So it is one of those things I want to say with watercolor is that layering just makes it so much nicer because you just don't always know how it's drying. Okay. So you can see I lost a little bit of my black spot, but it's a good thing it's black, so I can just bring it back. Bring back the black. Okay. I'm gonna not paint my eyes because they are a little bright as it is. I'm going to clean my brush. And now before we can do anything else, we have to wait for the red to be completely dry. As soon as we're going to touch the black on it, see how it's a little shiny still? Oh, you cannot really see, but it's a little shiny still. As soon as you're going to start to touch the black, it will just blend. I can take my flat brush. So this is where your flat brush can help you to bring back a few of the highlights. And especially on this side, so if I can just show you the photo again, a little bit on this side and a little bit on the top and on the edge. Bring back a little bit so you could make it wet. Move my towel a little closer. You make it wet. You suck it up a little bit. I like to do a double. And then I go and I can lift a little bit of the color. You may not be able to do a lot of it, but you can see you can definitely give a little highlight on that edge. You can also come back with a white pen or you can use gouache. So do a little highlight, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. The more upright you hold your brush, the skinnier your line will be. So you want to see how you hold your brush. And you can bring back some highlights. If your highlights went a little crazy, we can always just, paint again. Okay, let's go into the black. Now, my black is a very warm black. You get different kinds of black. So some blacks are a little more to the warmer side. You can easier see it when I make it light. I add a little bit of paint gray to that black, and I'm just going to bring it over here. to get this, which I like more. I like this blue tint versus the warm gray tint. So I'm going to make my puddle big and stronger, so less water. Make sure your red is dry before you paint this. And I'm going to start at his booty, and I'm going to just go in everywhere. And make sure you go close to the pencil lines, close to the red. This is why I said make sure your red is dry. And you can leave a few white spots, clean your brush, suck it up, and maybe drop in a little water so it can move a little bit, because you can see there's like details at the back. It's not just black, black. Let it dry. See how it dries. If your brush does not have a good point to go in here, you may want to switch to a smaller brush. Mine is good. Go like this. Again, you can leave open spaces. I'm turning my paper around so I can point my brush. I can see where my brush is actually pointing. And tap, tap, tap. If you feel you left too much open spaces, that happens, you can just drop in some color into that and the water will definitely move it around for you. To get your corners of your triangle a little sharper, maybe switch to a small brush. And I like to point and drag towards me because I can clearly see where I put the brush down to get that nice point. Okay. And you can do it with all your points. So if you feel this one needs to be a little pointier, do that. Okay. Look how cool that is drying. Love it. Love it. Okay. Go into the top. Chest area, shoulder area. What is this area even? Go a little bit lighter. Add some water. Sure you can see the points. So put your point down. Clean your brush. Blend it out a little bit. I like to touch my towel between cleaning and coming back to paint, so I do not have too much water on my brush. Especially because we are painting such small areas, you really want to control the water a lot. If you have too much water on your brush, it's just going to push all the paint away, and it will just settle in the ends. So, to control. Yeah. And I want to kind of have not a solid black, it's more like a lighter to a darker areas. Then I'm going to come to his head. Now, don't be careful not to make your eyes smaller, because that happens. Is the hair fluff. If it's difficult for you to make the point of his nose, I'm going to call it his nose, I'm not sure what it is, then turn your paper around so you can put your brush on the tip and drag down. It is not that sharp point, but you know, yeah. I'm going to leave it like this. It's a little uneven. I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to suck it up. And from the inside of his face, the middle of his, by his eyes. Ooh, I don't know how to explain this. This side, the right side of his eye. I'm going to drag my brush over it to lift a little bit of the color. So I give him like a little, and then towards the left side. Give him a little eyebrow, side eyebrow. And then because it's a little wet, you will see it will definitely go away a little bit. If you feel you did too much, just drop in a little bit of color towards the middle, not towards the eye, like on the left side, and you can kind of make it, or to the middle, you can make it less. And then let it dry. See how it dries. Then I want to make his legs. Now his legs has like a tint of brown in it. Just show you again, like a little tint of brown. So I'm going to use my same mixture, but I'm going to add some brown in it. And it will look like, hold on, more like this, like a more, instead of a blue tint, a brown tint. And then you have to be careful not to paint the shadow. So maybe we should start at the back. So start at the very top one. Make sure you touch your body. These will be lighter, and then just because the area is getting smaller, the tiny little things you're going to make here is going to appear darker. And that is just because you're painting less. You can see I didn't touch any paint again, but because I drag a big area and then go smaller, it will appear darker here. Then I'm going to do this one. So again, so you see the leg, you see shadow, you see leg. And you see feet. And then I take paint and I'm going to go to your one. So remember, leg, shadow, leg, shadow, leg, shadows below it. Yeah, let's go to the other side. Same idea. You want to paint from the top. You want to see leg. And you can paint like a little uneven so it looks like his leg. So leg, shadow, leg, shadow, leg. This leg you cannot see a lot. What happened to this one? I'm not sure. He's walking, mid walking. And then we want to do antennas. So antennas is the same. So leg, shadow, antenna. Antenna. You cannot really see this antenna's shadow. So it should be easy to follow. And then it's the one that comes out this way. Yeah, perfect. I just realized I didn't paint the dots on his back, so I'm just going to quickly go back into my black. I need my and my legs to dry in any case. So I'm going to go and I'm just mixing. Again, I cannot paint a circle. Like I need to do like a little C from the one side and then come back and do a reverse C. Oops, that's black, black from the other side. Or else it just becomes bigger. Do make sure you paint all the way touching the red. And then check your black. Maybe you want to do the shoulder a little darker, especially this bottom section. And it looks like it's got texture. So if yours dried a little light, take your brush and just do a few tap, 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 tap. I'll show you like this here. It looks a little weird. So you clean your brush, you suck it up, and then you kind of want to come back and smoosh them together. So it will give you a bit of a texture like this. See how, will you be able to zoom in on the photo? It's wet, so it's just kind of shiny. Okay, I'll show you later. And then it does look like on his back, if he has like a, a triangle shape like this. I'm going to add it and I'm going to do the same idea. Tap, 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 tap. I clean, I suck it up. This step requires a damp brush. So if your brush is too wet, you are just going to blend everything. So make sure you just tap, tap, tap. And then we have to do the shadow. Now the shadow I want you to make really dark. If I can show you just again the shadows. So leg, shadow, leg, shadow. So the shadow needs to be really dark. Almost the same color as your body of your black. You can use exactly the same color, or you can mix it with a little bit of brown, but less water, more paint. So when you paint, it is dark. If you if it's difficult for you to paint with your bigger brush close to his body, you can definitely go with a smaller one, so make sure it's easy. Make sure you paint all the white paper. Make sure all your legs and everything is dry. When you get here to his body and his face, where the face is touching the shadow, make sure you go really dark. And if you want to, you can give like a small outline, which I cannot show you. There, small outline. Look at that. To make sure it stands out really well. Same with at the bottom. Give a tiny outline. Two antennas. So this this side, it's touching the eye, so you should be good. Let's go. Okay. And that is our cute little bug. Now, if your eyes feel they're a little too bright, somewhere on your paint palette should be like a light gray. And all you can do is you can just kind of paint or not even paint. It's just like tap over it a little bit so you can kind of dim the light a bit. Ooh, not with so much water. Don't do that. Check your highlights on your red. So this one looks a little bit too big. So I'm going to switch to my small brush. I haven't even used it really, but I'm going to switch to my small brush and I'm just going to come from the inside and I'm going to give him a little outline like this. And then maybe use the small brush and kind of blend it out or switch to your different one. So I'm going to do it the same here. So the contrast will make it feel a little bit more like a highlight. So, in the middle here. And if you feel your red doesn't scream fire, paint more. Even another layer. And I kind of like to see how the water dries. So you don't have to, mix it or blend it in so much. See how I made the highlights a little bit smaller? And this is the cute firebug.